Welcome, and today we are going to learn about C# break statements. Majorly these we call them jump statements. So we are going to look at break statement, continue statement, C# go statement, and C# return statement. So to start with, we are going to learn about break statement. So we can zoom this. Let me try to zoom it so that you're able to see. Yes, that's fine. So in C#, break statement is useful to break or terminate the execution of loops. And from our previous videos, we went through C# loops, that is for, while, do while, for each, etc. So you can check our previous videos if you missed out the session. So the break statement is useful to ensure that we terminate the execution of loops. So the control is passed immediately to the next statements that follow the terminated loop or a statement. So we usually use a break, that is usually use break keyword to actually terminate the execution of loops. So we can use a break statement whenever we want to stop the execution of a particular loop or a statement based on what we need. So I'll just showcase this while using for loop. So for int. So you can refer to our previous videos to get more of an understanding on loops. So int I is equals to 1. Then if I is less or equal to 10, then we increment this. Then we execute our block of code here. So if I is equals to 6, then we want to break. So if I is equals to 6, then we terminate our loop. Else, we can. So guys, another thing, you don't need to type in the console.write line. You can just use CW, then press tab, then you are able to get that line of code. So we just key in here. So we say I value will be, so we want to provide our value here, sorry. So here will be 0, then we supply I here. So then, so that is it. So here, if we try to execute this block of code, so we just click on run. So you can see from our screen, it has actually executed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then it actually break or terminated when I was 6. So this is how we use break statement. So we have used a break statement to exit the loop, for loop whenever the variable I equals to 6. So that is how we use a break statement. So we can use break statement also with while loop. So you can say here, change this to while loop. So we just type in while. So we say while I is less or equal to 4, 10. Just remove this. Say I. So in that case, let me just define. So these we're using still break. So we say I, int I, int I. We are declaring this is equals to 1. So while I is less or equal to 10, then we loop through. Then we can now execute this line of code here. So we get the value, then we increment. Sorry. So we increment after execution. Then we check our I. If I is equal to 6, then we exit the loop. So if we just execute this again, this now we are using while a loop. So you can see it has executed up to number 5. Then when I was 6, then it actually terminated. So that is how you use break in a while loop. We can also check it with do while loop. So for do while loop, I'll just remain with my variable there, then do. So I'll write in our output here. We say I value is, so can try to minimize it a bit. So then we will provide our value here. I, this should be I. Then we increment. Then we check if I is equals to, can say 5 or even 4, then we want to break. So we break this. Then here we now check while. So we iterate while I is less than 10. So if we do this, yeah, so you can see it has only done up to number 3. Then when I was equals to 4, then the loop terminated. So that is how you use break in a do while loop. So whenever the variable I value becomes 4, then the loop terminates. So that is how we use break statements in the do while loop to terminate a loop execution based on how we have defined it. So we can proceed and check on the continue statement. Continue statement in C#. So in C#, the continue statement is used to pass control to the next iteration of loops, such as the for, while, do while, or for each. So we've just seen how we use a break statement in C#, and the main difference with the break statement and continue statement is the break statement will completely terminate the loop execution, while this continue statement will pass control to the next iteration of the loop. So we use continue keyword, continue to actually, so we use continue statement in our application whenever we want to skip the code's execution from the particular position and send back the control to the next iteration of the loop based on our requirements. So let's start using for each with an example. So for int I, we can assign it a value 1, then we can press tab. So for int I is less or equal to 10, then we iterate and we want to execute this block of code. So we say if I is equals to 9, then we can just say if equals to 4, then continue. So you can see the IntelliSense in Visual Studio. So you can always press tab to have that pre-populated. So you can have our console here, then we provide some value. I value is, so we can have our output. So this one will be I. So if we execute this, so you can see our code. If you can observe these results, we have used a continue statement to pass control back to the next iteration of a for loop. So whenever the variable I value equals to 4, then it will jump. So you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, then it continued to 5. So it actually returned back and proceeded. So we don't have the output of 4, but it will actually now omit 4 from the output. So if you observe this result, you realize that when the variable I value equals to 4, it skips the further execution on the statement and passes the control back to the next iteration and proceeds it. So it actually skips it and passes it to the next iteration from 5 going on to 10. So that is how we use a continue statement for loop to skip further execution of statements and send the control back to further iteration of the loop based on our requirements. So we can try this also with a while loop. So so we can say while I is less than, while I is less than 4 or even 6. So we can define our variable here, int I is equals to 1. So then we say while this, need to open this. So while that is less, while I is less than 6, so we can iterate this. Then we check if I is equals to 4, continue, then give us the output. So if we just execute this, you can see it has executed number 2, 3, then it skipped number 4, and we have the value of 6. So that is how you use continue in while loop. So from what you have seen here, when the variable I value becomes 4, then we are skipping the execution of the statement and passing the control back to the further iteration of the while loop using the continue statement. So we can also do the same with do while loop. So we can just do this. So we can leave our variable there. Then we use do. We say console. We tap this. Then our value is. Then we provide our value here. Then we say I. Then we iterate. Then so we increment that. Then we check the value. So if I is equals to 2, then we continue. It will actually skip. Then while we check, while I, so this loop should actually continue only if I is less than 10. So we can try to execute this. There we are. So you can see we have actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if, so we have if I is equals to 2, continue. So this is how we use continue in do while a loop. So that is how we have used that one. So we can proceed. And see so we have done continue. So our next thing to check is go to. So you can just clear this. So you can use go to. So here in C#, the go to statement is used to transfer program control to the defined label statement. It is useful to get out of the loop or exit from deeply nested based on certain requirements. So generally, these in C# is defined. The defined label statement must always exit the go to statement scope. So we usually use the go to then you provide the labeled statement. So that is the syntax of a goto. So to just see the example, let's use a for loop. So for int I is equals to 1, or let's assign this to 1, then I is less to 10, then we increment I. So then we should have a call like this. So we need to use a go and do statement. So how we are going to use that? We want to give it go to, then we say end loop. So this statement here, so you can check if we say if I is equals to 5, then we tell it to go to the end loop. So this will show you how we are going to define this end loop. So end loop, then here we want, in case it is not equal to 5, then we tell it to give us the output. So we write here I, the value of I is, so we supply our value of I. Then if this for loop, so we want now to exit. So if we want to exit the loop, so we have provided this end loop, so we need to define it. So we say end loop is what will be giving us the output. So we say, we press tab, then the output will be, this is the end of loop. So that will happen. So if I is equals to 5, then it will go to end loop. So this end loop will be the output of this statement here. So if we execute it, so you can see, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Then when I variable was 5, then it actually ended the loop. So it gave us the end of loop output. So if you have just observed, we have used a go to statement to exit from the defined loop or transfer control to a specific that is to exit the loop. So we have just used a go to in for loop with the end loop labeled statement to exit for the loop whenever the variable I equals to 5. So that is how you use a go to. So you can also use go to in a switch statement. So to just showcase this, so we can just define our switch here, switch. But before that, let's define our variable. Int I is equals to 3, then j is equals to 10. Then we want to loop through, so switch I, so we'll define it that way. So we say switch I, so case I, when I is 1, so what do you want to do? So we say, so we want j, we add j to 20, so we say j, sorry, let me just get rid of this to avoid confusion. Yeah, so case I, this should be case 1, so this should be case 1, then we say j plus equals to 20. So then we get the output of that. So we say j value is, we provide our value there. So this one will be J. Then we break. So remember to refer to our previous videos for the jump statements. So case 2, can say case 2, we want it to add 5 to J equals to 5. Then if that is it, then we say go to case 1. Go to case 1. So case 3, if it's case 3, then we say J plus or equal to 30. Then we say go to case 1. Go to case 1. Then default will be, just want to now give the default value. We say not none if it's not 3. So then we exit the loop. So here we just say break, then we close this loop. That is it. So as you can see, we have defined our switch statement and use go to. So you can see it will return to case 1 and print it. So if we just execute this, you can see J value is 60. So what has happened is we use a go to statement in multiple switch cases and try to transfer program control from case 2 to case 3 to case 1. So when we execute this code, we'll get the result as 60. So this is how we use a go statement with a case statement to transfer the program control from one case to another. So it's better using go to statement in application because it makes the program logic complex. So you better avoid using these go to statements. So it always makes application a bit complex. So our next jump to statement is a break. That is not, we have actually seen the break statement. So what we will look at is the return. Return statement. So in C#, the return statement is useful to terminate the execution of the method in which it appears and returns the control back to the calling method. So we can just define our variable here. Int I is equals to 10. Then we say J is equals to 20. Then we say result is equals to 0. So we can say result is equals to sum of numbers of I. So we are supplying our parameters here. So we'll define that sum of numbers a function. So then we want our output to be, we say result is the value. So we give it the value. So our result value will be result. So that is it. So we want to define these function of sum of numbers. So we'll just do public static int. It will return an integer, sum of numbers This can just change this to capital O, sum of numbers, and we're expecting two parameters, int I and j. Then inside this function, we want int x will be, that is now the result, will be I plus j. Then we close it here. Then we want it to return. So we are now using return here. We want it to return x, which is our result. So we can just remove this. We use static int sum of numbers. Then we have it there. So if we just execute this, you can see the result is 30. So that is 20 plus 10. So what has happened is when our code will execute here, supply these parameters, that is 10 and 20 to this function. Then what will happen is it will take I plus j, which is 10 plus 20, and return to us the sum, which is 30. That's why we see our output here as result is 30. So that is how we use a return statement in C#. So we have used a return statement in the sum of numbers method. So whenever we call the sum of numbers method, it will execute the method and return the result value using the return statement. So majorly that is how we use jump statement, guys, in C#. That is a break statement, continue statement, go to statement, and the return statement. So in case you have any comment, please feel free to comment down below and share your experience. So thank you and see you in our next video. Remember to subscribe and like, share, and comment. Bye.